Hey everyone, welcome back to Like a Boss. Guess who we've got in the house this week? Her name's Kristi Herold, and we're going to talk a little bit about her and all the things that she's achieved. But first, I want to put the backstory. I've known Kristi since she was a little girl. That's right. Now I'm aging myself, but long time ago in a planet far, far away, Kristi and I grew up in the same town. We even went to the same university. But since then, Kristi has gone on to found the Sport and Social Club. 25 years later, more than 1.5 million people have enjoyed all of the wonderful things and programs that she's brought to that community that she's built. She's been recognized as one of Canada's top female entrepreneurs. And last year, she was recognized as one of the top 100 women in Canada as far as influence goes. Kristi, welcome so much to Like a Boss.
Hi, Loralyn. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really flattered that you asked me to join you and excited to be here.
Well, it's so exciting to see all that you've done. Obviously, I've watched you from a distance on social for a long time and just the tremendous impact because you haven't just, quote unquote, built a business, you've created a community.
Yeah, when people ask like, what's your superpower? I didn't used to know the answer to that. And it took me, it's taken me about 25 years. But I'd say in the last 10 years, I've realized that's what I'm all about is building community. Even in high school, I was the head of the social committee, and I've always been about planning events and getting people together to have fun and connect through play.
And it's clear that you've used that as the impetus behind founding the Sport and Social Club. So, can you tell us a little bit about it, your history with it, and where you're headed?
Sure, absolutely. So the Sport and Social Club, I moved to Toronto, Canada after university, and having come from Sudbury, I'm a small town girl in a big city. I didn't know a lot of people. I was looking to find ways to meet people. And I thought maybe I could sign up for a soccer league or something. But what I realized was the only soccer leagues I could find were really competitive women's leagues and out of my league. So I had then heard about Sport and Social Club in San Francisco, and I thought, hey, maybe that's something I could try in Toronto. I knew I always wanted to work for myself. And so I started in 1996, the Toronto Sport and Social Club, and we were offering ultimate frisbee, flag football, basketball, soccer, and volleyball, beach volleyball. I had 52 teams sign up that very first season. In the first year, I think we had 250 teams. Fast forward after, 25 years, I had built up a team of amazing teammates, 40 full-time staff and 350 part-time, and we'd grown to being about 11,000 teams a year, connecting through all different types of sports across 9 different cities in Canada and the United States.
Just absolutely amazing. I know I had a similar experience when I moved to the States to do my graduate schooling. I found myself going to the Cleveland Sport and Social Club for the very same reason. And there I met tons of friends, some that I'm still actually in touch with and friends with today. So it's very important what you've done for people.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Having a sport and social club in your city or an adult, like just playing adult team sports, there's real power in connecting through playing of team sports.
Absolutely. I was very sad when I aged out of it. It was really designed for people sub 30. When you start to get over that number, people are like, yeah, you need to move on, right?
That,
So,
definitely something we notice in our leagues when you start to see baby strollers on the sidelines of people's games. It's like, okay, they're not going to be around for much longer. But there's the odd person who's been playing with us for 25 years. Like we do still have some really loyal, longtime members.
well, let's get into it. So you've already had tremendous success for almost 3 decades. And if I dare to ask, what is the wild and crazy dream that you have to take your success to the next level?
Um, for 20 years, Laurelyn, I didn't really have a vision for the company. I just was doing it because it felt good to connect people through play. Having said that, it was around 2016 and I was ready to move on and do something else. I really needed change. I was kind of bored and I was debating selling the company. And then I thought to myself, what is it that gets me excited? What am I passionate about? And I realized what I'm most excited about is being able to say to my kids or my friends if I'm walking down the street or in the car, hey, look, there's a sport and social softball game or a sport and social kickball game going on. I thought, wouldn't it be cool to get 1 million people playing every year? Now, we've been on pause because of the pandemic. We were up to around 150,000 people playing annually. So still a lot of growth ahead to get to 1 million people playing. But we did manage to pivot to creating a new organization called JAM. And we are now connecting corporate teams through play all over the world running our remote events, things like bingo and trivia, scavenger hunts, escape rooms, events that we've hired out of work actors and comedians to be our amazing and engaging hosts. So we can still get people playing and connecting and laughing together. And that's a really powerful mental health benefit.
Awesome. And let's talk about the pivot that you've had, because you've been public about how difficult it's been for you. 2020, obviously, with the pandemic, turned a lot of businesses upside down. And we often hear on this show from different founders on how challenging it's been to lay people off that have been in their circles and loyal for so long. Do you want to share a little bit about that experience and what you're doing to try to bounce back from it on the level of everything from self-care to the wonderful things you're trying to do for your employees?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's safe to say that in the last 25 years of running my business, 2020 has been hands down the most difficult year of my life, career-wise. Really, really challenging. It's pretty shocking to be told you are not allowed to operate your business, and yet no one's helping us cover all the costs. Don't stop. Now, the Canadian government has provided some subsidies in the forms of wage subsidy and rent subsidy, but it's not even remotely enough to cover all of our overhead. So, if you don't want to go bankrupt, how do you stay afloat when you've got all these costs coming and no way to operate your business? And we're now in our 11th month. We've gone from being like an 8-figure business revenue wise to zero overnight. And the overhead costs are still there, vehicle leases and insurance and communications, and there's just tons and tons of costs, and plus salaries of good people. So on March 13th, 2020, immediately when we got the news, we did temporary layoffs of almost our entire team. As the wage subsidy started to get announced, we brought everybody back. So we kept majority of our team on for quite some time. As the overhead costs continued, we cut as many costs as we possibly could. We did have to do a round of layoffs, about 5 people in the fall. So just last week, I had to make the very difficult decision to lay off 6 more teammates. And these are all really great people, hardworking, as you said, loyal, amazing people, friends. And it's not an easy thing. Again, one of the most difficult days of my career. And so afterwards, that night, this was Thursday last week, I was upset. It's been a really emotional day, exhausting, draining. And I had to get it out. So I sat down and I wrote, and then I decided to post it. And it was a pretty raw sharing on all different levels of social media. The support I got was amazing. So on Saturday, I thought, you know what, I'm actually going to make myself really vulnerable, and I'm going to ask for help, which is something I've always advised people. Ask for help. I'm here to help you. I just need to hear from you. How can I help you? But it's not easy. So again, I sat down and I wrote, and I put a cry out for help, and I listed 5 different things that I was asking people for help. Every single person in the world right now knows of a company who could benefit from a jam event, or knows of a family with family members living in multiple cities that could benefit from a jam event. So, or knows potentially someone in HR or on a culture committee or a social committee at a workplace. So I basically said, anyone can provide me an introduction to anyone who might like a jam event. That would be super helpful. That's one ask. Another ask was, if you know anyone in media, please introduce us, because we'd love the ability to tell our story. I think our story is really a lovely story that we've pivoted, but yet stayed true to our core purpose of connecting through play. With this request, with this post I made on Saturday, I got a slew more, just a ton more emails and direct DMs offering help. And one of the best things that happened, I think I had 6 different people reach out to me offering to meet with my teammates that we had to lay off to offer them jobs. And that was just the best.
And I think this speaks to the character that you are. Like I said, having insider knowledge about that, it's the combination of vulnerability and authenticity, right? People can sense when you're being real, and when you're asking for help, not crying wolf, people will be there to respond.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's get into your tip for the next generation of women rising as leaders. What would you advise them to do?
I think for women specifically, it's important to own your voice. Don't be a victim. Own your voice.
Now, if you could change anything from your past, Kristi, I gave you some pixie dust and said you got to change one thing. What would you change?
Okay, give me a moment here. So I think if I had to change anything from my past, it probably would have been to start growing Sport and Social Club into other cities earlier. It's weird because I actually made a very conscious choice for 20 years to stay pretty local because I wanted to be around for my children's upbringing. And yet now that I'm starting expansion, 20 years in, I started expanding into different cities and doing acquisitions. I kind of wish I'd started it earlier, and yet I don't regret all the time I had with my kids. So that's a tough one. I'm sort of, I don't really look back, to be honest. I'm much more of a, what can I do going forward that's going to make more of an impact? I tend to look at the past as well. That's happened. I can't change it, but I can certainly learn from it. So if I had to, I guess it would probably be that, but I wouldn't change much, I don't think.
You'd be surprised on how many female founders say that. They're like, well, but I wouldn't change it because then it would have changed my trajectory and shaped me differently. And people don't
Yeah.
want to be shaped differently, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of a cool question and cool answer, but I always like asking it. All right. Last question, Kristi. If I got a chance to peek into your closet and there was a shoe style that revealed your personality, are you a boots, stilettos, sneakers, flats, or flip-flops kind of gal?
I think that's pretty easy. I'm all about sneakers. I mean, one of our core values is get shit done. And I've had people describe me as a get shit done kind of girl, or never give up kind of girl. So I'm also super casual. So I love my flip-flops in the summer, but sneakers year round are fitting to my overall Northern Ontario girl personality, constantly on the go.
There you go. I figured, but I had to ask. Most of our gals are sneakers or boots gals because either way, they're either kicking ass or they're running around, right? Not
Love
letting
it.
anything slow them down. All
Love it.
right, Kristi. Well, we wish you tremendous continued success with Sport and Social Club, as well as your new online opportunity to connect people with play or through play, I should say, with Jam. And anytime that our audience can help you, we'll direct them over to your site.
Thank you. That would be amazing. I appreciate it. It was great to chat, Loralyn.
Thanks, Kristi.
Have a good day.
And how about that fantastic intro by Touch Circle?